Treasury starts.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call the Planning Commission meeting to order tonight. If I could get you to all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dot, if you could help me with the roll call, please.
Sure. Alderman Tim Eicher.
Here.
Mayor Kent Atwell.
Present.
Dan Cahalan.
Callahan.
Here.
Dave Greenway.
Here.
Dan Jashinsky.
Here.
Ed Merrick.
Here.
Laura Schultz.
Here.
Robert Weiler.
Here.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to item number 4, minutes.
Building inspector.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay, Ed made the motion and Tim made the second. Great, thank you very much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Okay, we'll move on to number 5, public hearings. We have 3 of them tonight. Public hearing number 1, text amendment to change 52 of the municipal code zoning. Amendment to section 52-11AA3BB of the zoning code to allow indoor firing ranges as a permitted use in B6 commercial holding district, subject to certain restrictions. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to public hearing number 1? Anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 1? Hearing none, public hearing number 1 is now closed. Move on to public hearing number 2. Topic, text amendment to chapter 52 of the municipal code zoning. Matter, amendments to section 52-11Z2 of the zoning code to allow a variety of senior living housing types by right in B5 office and research commercial zoning districts when the use is accessory and complementary to a medical use on the same property. Is there anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 2? Anyone like to speak to public hearing number 2? Seeing none, public number 2 is now closed. Move on to C, public hearing number 3, topic amend zoning district of the official zoning map from B4 general business district to B6 commercial holding district. Matter, amendment to zoning district of the official zoning map from the B4 general business district to B6 commercial holding district, which will provide more flexibility in the types of land uses allowed on the property. Is there anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 3? Anyone like to speak to public hearing number 3? Seeing none, public hearing number 3 is closed and moving right along. We're now to citizens' comments. Do we have anyone that would like to come up and make comments to anything on the consent agenda? Just the consent agendas, items 7A and B. Okay, seeing none, consent agenda items, public comment is now closed. We'll move on to number 7, consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Great, thank you. Tim made the motion, Dave made the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay. 3152 Village Square, owner Delafield Station LLC, applicant Mackenzie Endinger. You're approved. And Bob, you're approved as well for your signage. So you guys can stay for the rest of the meeting or you're free to go. All right, we'll move on to number 8, citizens' comments on items other than the consent agenda, items and the public hearing. If there's any topic you'd like to make comments on, now would be the time to do it. Is there anyone that would like to speak to anything on or off the agenda? Anyone like to speak to anything on or off the agenda? All right, citizens' comments are now closed. A lot of people, no talking. Okay, we'll move on to number 9, unfinished business. We have none. Move on to number 10, new business. Discussion of possible action on the following items. 10A, DELC 0787074 and DELC 707877075. 810 and 814 Genesee Street. Owner, Michael Graff. Applicant, Marie Martin, Delafield Gazebo Gardens. Applicant is requesting approval of a business plan of operation for an outdoor ceremony social gathering venue. The applicant like to please come up to the front desk? And if you could give us your name and address to get us started, that would be helpful.
Marie Martin, and the properties are 810 and 814 Genesee Street, Delafield, Wisconsin.
Great, thank you. And get us started?
I will. Okay. So the applicant did supply some additional information that was, that should be next to your spot with some pictures of examples of what she's proposing. The property is located on the east side of Genesee Street, just south of the Bark River. Currently, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is where we've got Sally's Sweet Shop, the realty office, and is there also a graphic?
Matt Gerber.
Matt Gerber. Is it like in graphic design or
Graphic
something like
design,
that? Okay.
correct.
So there's three in businesses that occupy the indoor space. The applicant is proposing to use the rear of the property behind the two buildings. There are actually two tax key numbers here, which has some green space, and use that as an outdoor venue for small weddings and maybe some other events. They have stated that they have 14 usable parking spaces to the east and the northeast area. Their parking is not required in the CBD1 district. However, in other districts, churches and other areas of public assembly do require one space per 250 square feet. So I just did that calculation to see what would typically be required, and 13 spaces would be required. So they do have that, knowing at some times there might be other businesses that use those buildings that would also occupy the space. However, the applicant has said that typically the outdoor venue space would be used outside of those other business hours. And they would use the bathroom within the building for facilities. And they are also proposing to have amplified music playing outside during these events. They're proposing hours of operation between 1 and 5 p.m. and occasional evening hours. They did not specify when or which days that those would occur. There would just be one employee. And that's the information that I guess I have available. And then she did submit those extra pictures to kind of show what it would look like. And I did not provide a specific recommendation on this. This is just a little bit of a unique use for downtown. Typically, the uses are within the buildings. So I just wanted you to look at it and provide any feedback and provide a recommendation, and with specific consideration given to whether or not there is enough parking. A lot of the other businesses, people come and go, but here you are, people are going to come and they're going to stay for that event and then leave. And then also whether or not music is appropriate. I believe this property is fully surrounded by business operations to the south. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, it is. Fully surrounded. All right, tell us why you're here and why you'd like to open the business.
I actually got married at this location last year, and it was such a beautiful day, and that's something that I wanted to share with our community, especially living through a pandemic. Smaller gatherings and COVID-friendly outdoor small event is something that I want to share. And so this is an outdoor space that has a fence, so it's on the privater side, and want to open it not only to weddings, particularly the ceremony part, but also to any small event, brunches, family gatherings, graduations, just any smaller event, up to 50 people.
Great. Go ahead, commissioners, questions?
Okay. You've got on their business hours 1 to 5 with possibility of some evening hours. Would you feel more comfortable extending that request instead of going 1 to 5, say 1 to 8 or 1 to 9, just in case you do have the possibility of an evening event?
That's a good suggestion, I think. Absolutely.
Okay,
So what would you like to change them to?
yeah,
Probably to 9. I think that's a good recommendation.
okay.
Is 1 early enough?
For weddings,
I'm just saying in general, for based on what you might be asked
I think
to do,
so.
because it's a active business district around there. So I mean, just if
You
you're
could go
entertaining
9 to 9
if you're
if you
yeah, I
wanted.
mean, if you're entertaining like a brunch idea too, and you wouldn't want to have to come back to get approval months in advance, just something like 9 to 9 might be something that
Sure.
So you're looking to be 9 to 9?
this usually goes the other direction. Just so you know.
Hey, how else you commissioners want to write it?
And I think it's great. And just from feedback, I think I don't know if are you from the area?
Yes.
Okay.
Born and
so
raised in Delafield.
Okay, so your eyes wide open that we get motorcycle rallies will come blaring through town. You'll get Mazatlan is right there, and they've got an outdoor cantina that's just to the south of you. There's the body shop that's right next to you.
Yeah.
Next to this area at least. Just it's on you to coordinate these other activities, and we can't stop traffic and other things. So just a word of caution as far as what type, because it looks serene in the pictures.
Yeah.
As long as people understand what possibilities there are for potential disruption, I think it'd be great for the downtown area. Frankly, I mean, having a little pocket park is kind of nice
Yeah.
discovery, and it's a good complement to what's across the river there.
Absolutely. With the river walk, I think that's really great for
It's
pictures.
certainly, like I said, it poses its challenges. As long as you're aware of those and don't look at the city to try to protect you from things that are there, I think it's a good. I think I wish you the best of luck. I think it's fine.
I'd agree, having walked through there, I think it's a nice little area.
And that road, what road is that? Is that
Genesee and Mill Street?
Mill
what
Street?
do they-
Yeah, Mill Street. So Mill Street is, I mean, it's one of my favorite little cut throughs there too. So can't block the road.
Right,
I'm not saying
absolutely
shortcut. It's just I go to Angelina's and that's why I jag back in there. Just okay.
All right. Is there somebody who'd like to make a motion amending the hours from 9 to 9?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the applicant with changing the hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I'll second.
Okay, so Ed made the motion
I'll
and
second.
Bob got in the second. Amy, does that cover everything that you were looking for? All right.
Not have it?
Bob? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. Welcome to the city of Delafield. We look
Good luck.
forward to the parties.
Thank you.
And if you do in the future want signage or anything or change the operation, you will need to come back for approval.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, I think signage, we're not going with signage possibly for the day of the events, parking, little removable signs, so nothing permanent, smaller things.
Okay, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about
touch
that
base
after.
on that.
Sure. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
All right, we'll move on to 10B, DLC 07819899004, DLC 07819899005, unknown address, owner, Joe's Legacy Farm LLC, applicant John Spears. Applicant is requesting the Planning Commission review and provide feedback regarding a concept plan for potential planned unit development, residential subdivision, and potentially scheduled public hearing for a land use amendment, rezone, and PUD conditional use. Amy, you want to give us an overview, please?
Okay, I'll try to keep mine short so that they can give their own presentation. But the property, so you've got two pretty much rectangular parcels west of 83 on Nagawicca Road that were previously owned by the Geeson family. The applicant has taken over ownership, right, John? You have?
No, we haven't accepted.
Okay, I'm sorry, an accepted offer on the property. They are proposing a 1 acre density subdivision. So the existing land use plan is an agricultural and the land use, or the zoning district is A1 agricultural, which requires a 3 acre minimum. So in with the land use plan currently, in order to amend the category, it states that you can amend it out of agricultural, but it needs to be at a minimum of a 2-acre density. So the applicant is proposing a 1-acre density subdivision and would like to modify the land use to low-density residential and then amend the zoning district to RE1 zoning. And then with that, apply for a conditional use permit for a conservation PUD subdivision to provide greater open space areas and then reduce the lot sizes down to a 1/2 acre. So this is a very similar development and process that Hawthorne Farm just went through. So the PUD does allow that flexibility. So at the end result would include 29 lots on 35.6 acres, which is going to yield about 57% open space on the property. It would be served by sewer and water. There is some, just going to quick put the topography on here. There's some steep topography in that northwest corner, north of Nagawicca Road. That's also, that wooded area is also isolated natural resource area. So that area in particular is held to a 1 unit per 5 acre density, which as part of the PUD, they're going to move that density into the non-isolated natural area and protect the resources in their entirety. And they do comply with that standard. So this property was subject to the focus group conversation as part of that economic development project we just went through. And the map that's on the screen shows what the focus group is recommending. So the blue area is the subject property. They did recommend a 1 acre density, which is what the applicant's proposing. That would, in the focus group talked about it, require an amendment to the text of the land use plan that would no longer limit the amendments out of agricultural to a minimum of 2 acre. So that can be, that will be part of the formal application process, but that could be limited to this property only, or you could open that up citywide. And then the focus group, just to make you aware, is also looking at the adjacent lands to the east on both sides of 83 and amending at least the west side of 83 to medium density. And this, what the focus group had talked about is even this property, it's served by sewer and water. They wanted to maximize opportunity for new residential development, but it's very rural. You've got some large estate rural lots surrounding it, so they felt that 1 acre was a good transition to go from medium density on 83 to 1 acre to your 2 and 3 acre lots that are surrounding it. Other than that, for now, I'm going to pass it on to the applicants to explain the development a little bit more in more detail, and then I can fill in any additional information that might still be missing. I'll put the and in the packet, and we can go through these later, they submitted a whole bunch of really nice pictures of some of their houses in their existing developments, and then also houses in a development in Interlaken Village in the village of Summit, which is really similar. That was interesting. Which is really similar to the flexibility that they are proposing. So they are proposing, and I'll just quick state this, instead of having side setbacks of 20 feet, which would be required in RE1, which they do need to rezone to get to, as part of the PUD from that, they would be asking for 15-foot side yard setbacks, and then 35-foot road setback instead of 50 feet to help reduce the amount of impervious surface that's required for a driveway length, and then to also protect some of the isolated natural resource area in the back of those lots on the north side. So why don't you go ahead? Do you want me to play this video now?
I'll just give you a little couple of pointers. This
Name and
is,
address, please, John.
John Spiros, S1W33857, Abbott's Road, Oconomowoc. That's actually town of Delafield. Some of you may not be familiar with us, but we've been developing subdivisions, high-quality subdivisions in Waukesha County for over 44 years. Some of the subdivisions we've developed are Dover Bay, The Arbors, Mary Hill Park, Hunt Club Farms, Saddlebrook Farms, and numerous other subdivisions for a total of about 38 subdivisions to date. So what we'd like to do is now show you a brief look at some of the subdivisions, so now we meet.
Okay. There's a short clip of an existing development, or developments. And
It's thinking.
We're buffering.
I played it earlier and it worked just fine.
It just needs some time.
That particular one, see.
Pretty good.
There you go.
There,
On one of my
maybe
bike paths.
So
I
that's
drove past
Hunt
it, I
Club
know.
Farms, which is in the town of Delafield. That's Mary Hill in the Heartland.
Let's go with all the ponds.
That's Saddlebrook Farms in Oconomowoc. That's the preserve at Beaver Lake. That was our newest subdivision, some of the homes there. So, anyway, so we're here tonight to request the rezoning of the Geeson land from A1 agricultural to RE1 with the PUD and to amend the LUP. And this is consistent with the recommendations of the focus group and the intended use per the contemplated zoning per the 2030 comprehensive plan. And this development would be a transition from medium to low density residential. It's a total of 35.33 acres for the Geeson land known as Joe's Legacy Farm. There would be 29 lots, though 30 lots are allowed, and there would be a minimum of 1/2 acre and 30,000 square feet of open space per lot for a total of 20.29 acres of open space to match the proposed density. This meets or exceeds the requirements of the city. These are huge lots for sewer and water with curb and gutter. Most city lots are less than 1/2 acre. The north property has 41% of open space with 1,650 feet of roads. The south property has 40% open space with 1,400 feet of roads, and these lots all on sewer and water. And there will be a very high cost to bring water to this project because the water is over 1,000 feet away, right off Highway 83. And in addition, the city is requesting us to connect our sewer to the east, which will necessitate a deeper and more costly sewer cost than normal. We have protected the isolated natural area, and it's been delineated and staked. And we're looking for a low-density conservation cluster development with open space, which is a good use of land. There's an open space of 20.29 acres based on 30,000 square feet of open space per lot, which is required per the city ordinance. And that is a huge amount of open space. So all the lots will exceed 1/2 acre, sewer and water, curb and gutter. And we protected the isolated natural area, and it is low density. We are projecting upper end homes value between $1.2 and $1.5 million, plus there may be some even higher than that. Nagawicca Heights would bring in a tax base of $34,800,000 to $43,500,000 to the city, which would generate about $390,000 to $488,000 in taxes. That is calculated based on a mill rate of 89% at $12.61 per thousand. The current taxes being generated on these two parcels of land is $80.68. So we will be requiring traditional homes in keeping with the charm and character of the city of Delafield. There'll be 2 private parks with benches, 2 ponds with fountains, an apple orchard that'll be retained, and beautiful landscaping throughout. There'll be land and stone entryways with characteristics similar to those that are already on Weber Court. And we plan on installing an 8-foot asphalt pedestrian walkway as shown on the plan. We'll also have mowed paths and trails within the subdivision. Be low traffic, and it's off 83, which can handle the traffic. We've already had the access points verified, and they do meet the requirements. We're known for developing quality high-end subdivisions, and we plan on Nagawicca Heights to be a very high-quality development for the city of Delafield as well as for Spheris land development. We take a lot of pride in what we do. In fact, you can talk to any of the communities we've worked with, and they will speak highly of us. So I didn't know if you had questions for us.
Just so the plan commissioners know, on the site plan on the screen, the gray trails along the road and then the trail that extends along the proposed road that extends to the east are the public trails, and then the mode trails that will be more private for the owners within the subdivision are the yellowish trails.
Right, and then if we go through the woods, we're gonna have to find out, we don't wanna take
Yeah.
down any big trees, so.
So
we
they're
don't
not
know exactly
defined, right.
Where it's gonna be.
The gray is like a walking?
Yeah, walking.
That looks like the road to drive your car, that's not right?
Oh, no, the greenish, let's see my
Yeah,
cursor, those are walking trails,
Okay.
mode walking
Gotcha.
trails, not fully defined in location. The roads are in gray, and then these great narrow 8-foot strips along Nagawicka, and then to the east of this road that will extend east are public trails. So the idea is we asked for the road extension to the east because that will then connect to that medium density stuff that's proposed adjacent to 83, and then this would connect through, and there would be an additional trail system, and someday one probably along on 83.
Probably. One of the things that we do work with a lot of builders. I was head of the Developers Council at the Metropolitan Builders Association, so we work with a lot of builders. And they told me that they're mostly building ranch homes now. They said over 70% of the homes that they're building are large ranch homes, which are wider than 2-story homes. And so that's one of the reasons why I said, all right, how wide of an area would you need for these ranch homes? They said the ranch homes would be 70 to 95 feet wide. That's how big they are. So that's why we're looking for the variance on the side yards. So that's what the public's looking for. Again, it's the older population, one floor.
Goes around, comes around. I live in one of those big ranch houses, and I love it.
One more trail thing I just want to bring up. On the south side, there will be a public trail proposed on the west property line running north and south. There is an existing easement that benefits the city for, I think it says bicycle path on this rectangular CSM lot that I'm putting my cursor along. So that public trail will, because of that easement, it will allow the trail to connect to the existing right-of-way of Woodside.
Isn't that nice?
So,
Yeah, that's nice.
so
I like
Amy,
it.
I was gonna,
It's in the bike plan.
Yes, it is.
you guys are obviously more familiar with that, so I was gonna, since we're talking about trails, can I ask that question? So I'm one of the park and recs, so I'm always supposed to ask about trails and trees. So what, I was a little confused because I thought the trails were kind of like dead ends, but no, they connect. Like you can't get to Oakwood Park from here on a trail, can you?
No, but
No, but when they're doing their development, the city's asking them to do their part.
Yeah.
And then as future developments get done, as you move to different directions, we'll ask them to do their part, and this is how you create the links, right?
But does that easement go all the way to Oakwood Road on that
There-
west boundary? No.
No.
it just
Yeah.
connects to Woodside
Yeah.
Road,
Okay.
or
Yeah,
Drive
so
Road.
on this particular one here, because I was talking to the ones along the road before.
Oh, sorry.
So now you're talking about the one that Amy's mentioning that connects to the south? You're gonna have to blow that up, Amy. And go to the left.
Because there is a 10-foot easement on
So
the property.
the city has an easement through here, and they're gonna connect to this dead end roundabout, cul-de-sac,
Cul-de-sac, it's Woodside.
Woodside.
Correct.
Which is the Horseshoe Bend Road?
No, that's to the
No?
north.
Here, I'll zoom out. Do you see
This
Woodside?
is to the south.
Yeah, this is,
If you go south through Woodside, you can get to Nagawaki Park.
You can.
Yeah, I do it frequently. So
That's a connection we never had a way to do, but because of this
We need it.
development, we will get that connection.
especially being off-road.
And then to the north of, on the north side of Nagawicka, to the north of this is also a city, the subdivision that contains Horseshoe Bend has like a horse trail or
Yeah.
walking trail around the boundary of that subdivision. This would connect, they would have leader trails that connect into that.
Okay.
So on that subject, I just have two comments. I'm just remaining consistent with other subdivisions. I prefer trails to all be public, and if that 8-foot trail could be a 10-foot trail. Otherwise, I really like the development.
I think the 8-foot trail is planned to be public.
I understand that. It's just my own opinion. I don't like the private trails.
And I'll be real frank with you too, as far as,
Sure.
doing developments.
Please use that microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. A lot of owners don't like the paths behind the properties because it destroys their privacy. So
I
that's,
understand that.
Right.
So we try to find a balance here,
I'm
right?
just being consistent. You'll always hear that from me.
And then I'll always have to say we're trying to find a balance.
Very good.
Aren't the ones downtown here, on the east side, across the street from the post office, aren't those narrower, isn't that a narrower path also?
Yeah, Dan's the
The
expert. We have
Veterans
6,
Memorial Walk?
8, and 10, and
From St. John's north to
So
the
it's not
Christ the
unusual
King.
to have different,
it's not unusual to have different
Okay.
ones.
We have a category of multi-use trails, which are 8 foot is minimum, 10 foot is desirable. Because when you're
yeah.
going against,
paths.
on bikes, 10 feet just is
Comfortable.
it's a federal standard.
Oh,
So that's where we were coming from on that.
And then, depending upon the environment, and you got to look at the whole stretch, you try to pick something that's going to blend in, right? Because 10-foot creates more destruction potential, more
Right.
destruction of trees, and
Right.
things like this. And sometimes you find a
I'd
compromise.
rather save trees.
If we've got the room for 10 foot, like going up Highway C where there's nothing there, makes a lot of sense, right? But when you're trying to weave through Milwaukee Street or something, 10 foot makes no sense. Right? So
I agree.
You got to look at each one and pick what's most appropriate. Which Park and Rec plan or the Public Works plan makes suggestions on those as well.
Again, we've had the isolated natural area delineated, and that will be protected.
I love that. One of the slides showed like a pond or something. Is that a natural pond that's already there?
No, there'll be 2 man-made, if you want to go back to, both will be man-made, and both will have aerators in them.
Okay,
Yeah, so that would be the,
all right.
yeah, so that'll have an aerator, fountain. I should-
So they're
Yeah.
wet, they're wet
Yeah,
ponds.
those are wet ponds. Yes,
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, that'll be a wet pond too, and if you take a look on the, kind of going south, on that,
Oh, this one?
yeah.
Zoom in.
There is an apple orchard that the owners have asked us to preserve, which we are, right there.
Is that this rectangular? Okay.
Yeah,
Nice, nice.
and so we thought that would be kind of a neat feature. We've got
Kid in the
some,
neighborhood will be there when the apples are on the tree.
So there is a, speaking of the ponds,
right.
there are the two ponds manage the stormwater. The engineer, city engineer did review this, and they feel that that there is enough sufficient area to accommodate stormwater management. They're going to have to do detailed engineering if the proposal is supported, of course. You can see this blue, can you see that blue strip
Yes.
that's going through the CSM to the south? That is a drainage easement. There is a swale, and that's a natural path for the flow of water. The stormwater facility should actually reduce the need for probably to even have that drainage there, but it will, if anything, reduce the amount of water that would go onto that property.
right, our engineer, Rob Davy, is here if you have any questions on that.
If you could say your,
Lake Country Engineering,
There it is, need a mic.
970 South Silver Lake Street, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. We have done the soil borings in these areas for the stormwater. We have not the best soil, we have some good soils. So I'm proposing a mixture of wet ponds to kind of act as to slow the water down and to clean it. And then each of the wet ponds will have an infiltration component so that we can get that standard met. We didn't get the 3.6 inches an hour that I was going to hope for an infiltration rate. We did find some areas with the 1.67, so it's not great, but it's not bad. In Watertown, they got nothing. So we will accommodate everything, and then having the large amounts of green space that a lot of the backyards are going to be running through will really help reduce the flow that's kind of not calculated.
Based on your soil borings, do you still feel that you have enough sufficient area to accommodate stormwater management?
Yes.
I just have one question. On this map, you have the tan areas and then the pea green around them. What does that represent?
The tan areas in the middle, that's the building envelope.
Okay, the building envelope. So that's the size you want for the ranch houses?
Maximum.
Okay.
That's, yeah. And again, our intention is to make this a very high-end development in the city of Delafield. We've done that in the past, and we know the builders that are out there looking for it. So it's something that we think the city of Delafield will be proud of and that we'll be proud of.
You mentioned water. Are they going to be on wells or are they going to be on city water?
City water.
City water and city sewer.
Okay.
So these are pretty good, very big lots for city water and sewer.
We need more water customers.
Do?
We do.
Of course.
I'll weigh in on this and say that, I like the idea that based on what the recommendation was from the Economic Development Group, that this is a transition area. And I think it's important to maintain the curb appeal that the farm atmosphere has for the people that are already there when you head toward the lake, and there is more of the rural and 3-acre lots. And that, so I think there'll be some significant focus on the type of landscaping and the curb appeal that gets, that is maintained along Nagawicka Road there.
We intend on that.
So just to put people's, just give them the peace of mind knowing that it's not, well, there's 30 homes right now, there's a farm. So there's a transition here that's happening, and I trust that people know what they want when they're buying a property. There's people that own properties that want to maintain what they have, so looking forward to that balance and how you're going to maintain the landscaping and keep that
Right now,
rural
there's
appeal.
a couple of tree lines and hedges along Nagawicka, and we want to enhance that too.
Yeah, good. I think that's my, I see the other subdivisions that you have. I checked out the one at, off Waterville Road. Those houses are big and they're close, and people didn't build them like that because it bothered them. I mean, that's what they wanted. And so some people don't want it, so not seeing it would help people that are driving by it that don't want it.
Well, and that's the reason why we took photos, and I think you.
Yeah, I can go through those.
Amy? Some subdivisions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm just
Yeah.
And are you-
saying it in public that I think it's important that
Yeah, that's-
everyone gets what they want,
That's,
right? I mean,
And I think you're
Lincoln has a
talking
saying about it,
about Newbridge. Are you talking about the Newbridge subdivision on Waterville, I'm assuming?
yeah.
So those have the 10-foot offsets, which they were originally proposing. They are now going to 15 feet, so there will be at least 10 extra feet total between the houses, 20 to 30 feet.
the one that you've got on there, that's 15-foot setbacks, that's Interlochen Village and some.
And I think that based on the geography and the landscaping you've got along Waterville Road, that's fairly, accomplishes fairly well what I'm saying, is that it's,
Well, this piece has some nice
yeah,
topography. to it,
agreed.
too.
So this is kind of what, you can see, this is a 15-foot offset.
That-
I think
And
it
some
looks, I think
homes
it
will
looks nice.
maximize it and other ones won't.
Hey, Amy, can you, sorry, it's not a big deal, but I'm just curious. So on the northwest side,
Yes.
where the horse, there is no exit north in the northwest corner of this property?
No,
From
the
a public-
northwest, it's very steep.
Yeah,
so
no,
we
I
wouldn't-
know, I'm just validating. There's no northwest corner public trail access
Oh.
in any of our plans or?
No, I did not see anything shown on the park and open space plan for this property specifically.
Okay. It's basically, it would be a northeast. If you're trying to exit out in a public walkway, it's that little corner on the east
Yeah, and that's
side.
to connect to whatever new development occurs
Yep.
to the east
Yep.
and provide access to 83.
And we met with the staff, and the staff has requested that, originally we were gonna do a cul-de-sac, ending on the north parcel, and the staff said they'd prefer to have a T there, so, right there. So if that is ever extended into the current farm on the property.
Speaking of that end there, you might get comments at Public Works as far as turning plow trucks around. Cul-de-sacs are usually preferred to this, but we'll let, maybe Tom can weigh in on that one.
Originally, our plan was to have a cul-de-sac there, and then the city said that they'd prefer that we, have the road touch the adjacent property, and also, because of that too, now we have to put deeper sewer too, so it just compiles the problem, so.
And I'll say, I like the fact you included subdivision covenants in there to give an idea of what your expectations are for the building size, style,
Yeah. I think
and
we're-
quality and stuff, so that's nice
Yeah,
to see that.
we've done in the past, and the one that we kind of like modeled this one after is called Preserve at Beaver Lake. It's almost identical, and the houses are pretty spectacular. That's why we said we anticipate 1.2 to 1.5 end up like at the Preserve right now. There's a 2,700 square foot ranch, and they're asking $1,295,000 for it. I know. But that's our new construction cost, so.
They are proposing, I believe, a 24-foot wide road, 29 feet with the curb and back-to-back with curb and gutter. So that is something that I think the ordinance says that the Plan Commission and just in Public Works needs to review that width of road. And then the ordinance, the land division ordinance also talks about how sidewalks should be provided unless there's an alternative. With Hawthorne Farm, you approved no sidewalks because of the trail system, and so that would be, if you so chose, that would be similar here where they do have an integral sidewalk system, or not sidewalk, path system proposed.
Again, we want to still retain the rural character, yet we still want it to look like Delafield too, and that's why we want the traditional homes, and that's what we're known for in our developments.
So a couple, any other comments from the Plan Commission? No? So a couple of things procedurally. One, we can talk offline here, but we just need a couple more pieces before we would want to move forward with the actual hearing, to set up the hearing. So timing is always of the essence on these projects. They do need to go to the Parks Committee and Public Works Committee. Do you want them to come back here for the public hearing so they need a land use plan amendment, a rezone, and conditional use at this stage, general development plan CU. And we could hold all of those hearings at the same time. They will eventually need to come in with a preliminary plat. I don't know when they're gonna throw that into the mix. But they do need to go to Parks and Public Works. So I think with Hawthorne Farm, they went to Parks first because of timing. Is there a preference? Does it matter? However it works for timing?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll coordinate it with you.
So we'll coordinate you, just so you know, you have those two other committees to attend. So if you are comfortable, you could go ahead and schedule a public hearing for the land use plan rezone and conditional use for a future date set based on meeting all of the submittal requirements. The ordinance does require a concept landscape plan, which is missing, and then a preliminary grading plan, so we have an idea of how the site's going to get modified.
But we can do the public hearings before that? Or?
That's supposed to be part of the public hearing process. But at this point, if you're comfortable enough, you could schedule it, but it might mean that they come back in February, not January, if they don't have.
Would you have all that
information.
stuff ready by the due date of January 11th?
I thought we just needed the preliminary stormwater, not the preliminary grading.
Well, and that's in the ordinance. I mean, it's up to,
I would have to look at my schedule tomorrow and get back to you. I can get the preliminary stormwater done by then. I don't want to commit to the grading plan.
Was February public hearing too late in your plans of what you want to do?
No, I'd rather have it done right, so.
Yeah, I guess it all depends with the rezone, because that's the critical, in my opinion, that's the critical step, is getting the land rezoned.
So you could, I think we have enough information to process the land use plan and rezone. If it's really the conditional use PUD to know whether or not the layout is reasonable. So if you wanted to proceed, we could schedule the hearing for the land use plan and rezone for January.
I think I would feel more comfortable knowing that we get the rezoning before we spend a whole lot of time and effort on the grading plan. I mean, I feel comfortable, I think it's gonna go through, but I don't wanna go on, I think. Murphy's not been kind to me.
So we do the rezone in January and then the other two?
Yeah, you could do
Land
your,
use and rezone.
you could go to Parks and Public Works in January also. And
Okay.
Dan, do you need a grading plan for Public Works?
Usually.
Okay, so you could probably go to Parks Committee in January.
Are we comfortable with those two, scheduling a public hearing in January?
And then do you want to avoid them having to come back to schedule a hearing for the CUP, or do you want to schedule the hearing upon completion of a draft grading plan and landscape plan for the CUP?
Yeah, personally, I think the CU should come later.
Yeah, so are you saying schedule the CU for February?
Yeah, or
Tonight?
upon completion of those plans, and then it could, because it might be March, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that way it's on the schedule. That way we don't have to lose
just to say
30 days by making the motion,
We
right?
could do it at the January meeting, but
Yeah,
Say,
why wouldn't we?
isn't the parks and the planning going to be a day apart in the last week of January? Aren't they scheduled right now for that?
they could be.
I think they are, so you could get the parks that, and then the next day would be the grading.
Plan Commission?
Yeah, and then you could do
If they can get it done. I don't know if they can get it done. So my recommendation would be to schedule rezone and land use plan for the date certain of January and just leave the CUP a little open and make it more upon completion of the application submittal requirements.
As a second motion?
So we don't have to put it on the agenda in January if they're not ready.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll motion to schedule a public hearing for the land use plan amendment and rezone for the January Plan Commission meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Dan made the motion and Dan made the second.
Dan and Dan.
Dan J and Dan C.
Dan J and Dan C. Okay.
Dot, did you get that?
Okay. And I'm trying to embellish for Cassie, who will be doing the minutes from the
You look
recording
perplexed.
as well. So.
Sure.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
All right.
Thank you. And just,
And then were we gonna schedule,
I don't know, I'd just say,
I'd wait.
you can't do the second one without the first one, so, I mean, we usually don't
just
have
wait?
like
Okay, yeah.
condition, like,
I think either way
there's no
works.
point in scheduling a second public hearing if it's not gonna go, if it doesn't get rezoned.
Yeah, we don't lose any time by doing that in January.
But so wouldn't
for
we just be,
February.
so wouldn't it be on the January agenda to schedule it? They'd be asking for that on the January agenda, right?
I think the concern is it's possible they'll be ready for a January hearing. So Hawthorne did all three at one time.
Oh,
And
they
it was
might have
one
everything in
ordinance.
place for a January.
I mean, that would be,
Sounds unlikely, but he didn't say absolutely no. Plus the cost involved with it, he was concerned about as well.
I feel comfortable getting the two done in January, and then in January, I should have enough information so that we can get the third one done in February, and knowing what the submittal dates are. If that makes sense.
It does to me because it gives you a little more breathing room too.
Yes.
are you saying
can-
you'd be
we can
more
always
comfortable
throw
just
the-
putting it on
Yeah,
the agenda
just
for
have it
January?
on the agenda in
That's
January.
fine.
Schedule in January for February. Okay,
Okay.
great. Anything else we need to
luck.
do?
So is the motion?
We didn't vote
Yes.
on it yet.
Oh, all in
Okay.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Oh, we did.
Jones, did read your help.
Yeah, we did.
I think we just double it. I think we just double it.
Well, what happens then? We have to delete one?
We did vote?
Good luck.
See,
thank you. And
the clerk said we did vote. You made me vote twice.
Keeping you on your toes.
Where's Joan?
It's bad for you. That means it's a double knot. Now we got a conflict.
Thank you, and just, we take a lot of pride in our developments, and we work very closely with the communities. You can ask any community we've worked with.
I've seen some of your buildings and they are beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Good
We're looking
luck.
forward to it. Okay, we'll move on to number 11, zoning and ordinance revisions. Discussion of possible action on the following items. A, amendment to section 52-11AA 3BB of the zoning code to allow for indoor firing ranges as permitted use in B6 commercial holding district, subject to certain restrictions. Amy, anything you need to go over on that?
Well, I think we've talked about this quite a bit. Last month, you initiated the text amendment and scheduled the public hearing for this month, which is now closed. And so I have a recommended motion in here to approve the draft ordinance that modifies section 52-111, paren AA, paren BB of the zoning code to allow indoor firing ranges as a permitted use in the B6 commercial holding district, subject to conditions stated in the draft ordinance.
I would like to make a motion to approve the amendment
Okay, that
as
was-
stated.
That was Ed
I'll second.
and Laura seconds. Any discussion?
And this is to recommend to the council.
And I should, as part of the discussion, add, last month you guys recommended that extra condition, which has been added in here. It is slightly tweaked. Attorney Hammis and I just slightly tweaked some of the words.
And recommend to
And
council.
recommend to
Ed
council.
and Laura, you agree, recommend to council?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Off to city council for that one. 11B, amendment to section 52-11Z2 in the zoning code to allow a variety of senior living housing types by right in the B5 office and research commercial zoning district when the use is accessory and complementary to a medical use of the same. Amy, anything to add on that?
Nope, same thing. You initiated the text amendment and scheduled the hearing last month for this month. There's a draft ordinance in the packet. And it just includes the allowing the senior living as a permitted use if in conjunction with a medical facility, and the recommended action is to recommend approval to Common Council for the draft ordinance.
I'll make a recommendation. Motion to recommend to council the new drafted ordinance as written.
All right, that was Laura.
Bob seconds.
And Bob seconds. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Great, move on to 11C, amendment to the zoning district of the official zoning map from the B4 General Business District to B6 Commercial Holding District, which will provide more flexibility in the types of land use allowed on the property. Amy, anything to go over on this last one?
So this is a rezone from B4 to B6. We talked about this and the difference in the permitted uses at the last meeting. If you want to go through it again, we certainly can. But otherwise, you did initiate the text amendment and scheduled the public hearing last month. And, oh, I have the wrong one. So my recommended motion is the same as the other ones, to recommend approval to Common Council based on the draft ordinance. Oh, here, I do write it a little bit different. Amend the zoning district on the official zoning map on property located at 501 Maple Avenue from B4 to B6, as recommended in the Economic Development Land Use Focus Project Report. And there is a draft ordinance.
Motion to approve the text amendment as stated and recommend to council.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, Ed. Laura?
I'll second.
Thank you for the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay. We'll move on to 12, report of city officials, planning commission meeting dates and deadlines. Regular meeting is January 26th. Regular meeting submittal deadline is January 11th. B, correspondence. I'll refer to anything in the packet. C, planner.
Okay, two things I just wanted to bring up. One is, at last month's meeting, you approved the business plan of operation for 7Cs, subject to them terminating the conditional use for the property across the street if necessary. So we went back and looked at the conditional use more carefully, and it actually did have an expiration date. That conditional use for parking was only intended, I believe, for one season. So it
Isn't
doesn't.
that funny? Isn't that, I mean,
So it doesn't require termination because it's already expired, so we don't need to go through that process. So that business plan of operation has been approved.
how many years did they use that?
Many.
So,
At least one.
at least one. And
Did we say
then,
which one?
and then the other topic is, so each month I've been trying to give a brief update on the focus group projects. And so far we've had kind of a natural progression based on applicants coming through coincidentally. We did meet with someone today who's proposing a business use in the residential area on Genesee Street between 94 and the business district. That is actually part of the focus group project area as well. So I guess my question would be, next month we would either proceed with the additional areas east of Gießen, which is going to include contacting several of the property owners and pursuing that project. And it would require land use plan amendments, zoning. We would probably just stick with the land use plan amendment, but text and map amendments. Or we could refocus and discuss downtown, the strip that was brought up today during our meeting.
The difference being we have an applicant for the latter
Yeah.
who's anxious, and we don't have an applicant for the first one yet.
I would skip to the applicant
Okay.
parcel.
And then the downtown did have several pieces to it. We'll talk internally a little more next week, but we'll probably break it up into a couple of different meetings. Make it a little bit of an easier conversation. That's all I have.
So you guys still have the focus group working and?
Nope,
No,
focus group is done,
Oh, okay.
and if
You're just talking about internal city staff and kind of.
Yeah, so the focus group made several recommendations,
Yep,
and now we're taking those
okay.
piece by piece through the formal process.
I misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah, and we published a schedule, but the process has created more interest. And so we're reordering the schedule based on the applicants that are here that are interested now,
It's a good problem.
Makes
right?
sense.
Yeah.
Yep, works.
Hold anybody up.
Nope.
Probably worth saying again, I know people have said it, is that was a nice process, what was kicked off and how you guys organized it and how you executed. And I don't know if other cities have done it, maybe we followed somebody, but from an outsider's view, it was very impressive.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it pays dividends to the taxpayers of Delafield through new construction.
I like
And
because
so
there's
far it is.
a lot of good conversation.
Alrighty. Is that it, Amy? Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Building inspector, he had no report, so we let him go early. Seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 7:58. Thank you, everyone, for participating and coming. Thank you, Cassie.